Hello, everybody. This is Jeff Morton, your host with the podcast. Let's talk about it. What it really means is let's talk about you. I'm never looking for the politicians or celebrity. I'm looking for the average person who's making a difference in the lives of people. We're going to be talking about hypnotism today, or hypnosis. We're going to kind of weed out some of the things that we've been taught about it. We're going to kind of throw those under the bus as we talk to Levi, and I'll bring him on in a minute. I just got back here. I literally rushed back here to get this all set up from the movie Bonhoeffer. And my good friend, Dr. Dina Dye, who is a bit of a mentor for me, as well as a very good friend. She has spent well over 40 years teaching in the arena of going back to the biblical understanding, not necessarily the religious understanding of the text. She's a Jewish woman born in Ottawa, Canada, and we're going to have her on again next week. She's going to be a regular. We did a podcast for 2.5 years. It's called Returning to Eden on Podbean. So I called her as soon as I got out of the movie theater. I said, Dina, I'm walking to the car. I got tears in my eyes. Anyway, the movie Bonhoeffer has just come out. It's a screenplay that was based on a book that Eric Metaxas did. Dina has done some work with, she got a whole series on it as well, on who Dietrich Bonhoeffer was. And I got to tell you, the whole movie solidified a certain belief that I have, which is unfortunate. But we're going to talk about all that next week. I met Levi Swift Gann at a network meeting, not multi-level marketing. I go to a lot of network meetings as a business person, and I happened to meet Levi. And I went to his house and I did one of my scan things. It was kind of interesting, but I learned a little bit more about hypnosis and what it's not. And so I invited him on the show. We're going to do a podcast and he's going to teach us why he started doing this and dispel maybe some of the myths that we have. There's a picture I had because I wrote an article about him. It's on my blog. I always call it my website. It's a blog. He actually went to school to learn how to do this. So we're going to have him tell us all about this. Let me introduce my guest. Come on in, my friend. How are you doing today, Levi?
Hey, Jeff. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely.
You look I feel like I'm looking at Doctor Strange right now.
My lighting shifted a little bit on me.
No, I just, I met you. You're a genuine guy. You taught me a few things. We did the scan and all those kind of things. And to have you on the show to kind of talk about this hypnosis stuff, I'm in a world where there's a lot of Christians this is all taboo and bad. And perhaps it is, I don't know, but that's certainly not what I get from you. And so we're going to talk about it. But before we get started, why don't you just spend a few minutes telling the audience a little bit about who you are and give us some background.
I can do that. So, as you said, my name is Levi Gann. I was born and raised in Puyallup, Washington. My parents raised me well. I had 2 brothers. I still talk to my parents on a weekly basis, sometimes daily basis. But we grew up in the farmlands of Puyallup back before it was really developed. And my parents didn't really like the busy life. They wanted the country life. So we ended up moving out further and further into the countryside as Puyallup developed and then South Hill developed and stuff like that. But we had cows, we had horses and dogs and cats and pigs and all the farm animals you'd imagine. And a simple, easy life growing up. I was homeschooled through my education. I did 1st through 6th grade, and then I switched to homeschooling after that. And so I kind of got a little bit of both worlds. And then,
did you go to college?
I never went to college. Nope. So I moved right into working in a warehouse with my uncle and 2 brothers pretty quick.
So you did that for a lot of years. How many years did you work in the warehouse?
So I was in that warehouse for 21 years.
Wow.
It was a good union paid job. I had, my 4 weeks vacation by the end of it and, my retirement plan and all that stuff. but something ended up calling to me a little bit deeper, and I decided to move from that job into what I am now as this hypnotist, helping people.
Now, were you ever a married man? You have no children, right?
No children. I was married once a long time ago, but
Okay,
that didn't end up well, so we ended up splitting up.
so you're
Yeah.
basically by yourself. You,
Yeah.
if I understand it right, you bought a house 2017,
Yeah.
and while you were working the warehouse, and then all of a sudden, something happened. What happened?
Yeah. So around COVID time, I was talking to a buddy of mine in the warehouse, and we had been deemed essential employees. So we were working, 16, 17-hour days. It was pretty brutal. We started getting into the conversations of universal consciousness and God and whatever that might be and how it affects people's lives. And there was certain people experiencing something over here in the world, and then they would experience it over here, a different set of people, but it was the same story happening. And I really got intrigued by how that could be. Uh, and I started diving into more of that aspect of the energies in the world and what's guiding people, and how someone over here might get an idea for an invention, and then the same person gets that same idea. It's kind of like how movies come out and they're all football movies one year. Like, how does that happen that everyone had that idea at that same time? So universal consciousness is somewhere coming into play, I feel. And I started doing that research.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, you just kind of confused me a little bit.
Okay.
So let's break down what you just said, okay? You
Absolutely,
said
please.
somebody over here had an idea, and then
Yeah,
somebody over here had an idea, and they were kind of having the same idea. Is that what you just meant to
that's what
say?
I'm kind of saying. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so how was that intriguing?
So, from my understanding of it, it's almost like they're getting a download from a higher power, and it's throwing it out to whoever picks up the idea and moves with it, right? Because this idea I feel needs to move, and it's just kind of throwing out to certain people that have the position to move, and kind of seeing which one acts on it. Does that
Well,
make
that's
sense
kind of
to you?
interesting. I absolutely, well, I certainly understand download for all of those people who know my story. I get
Okay.
that word very well. Okay, so
Yeah.
now why hypnotism? What happened? Let's
Yeah. So I
travel
start
down that
doing.
road.
Okay. So there's start doing the research on the universal consciousness. Oh, that's changing my lighting again. Start doing that universal consciousness, and I started to discover through hypnosis, people were experiencing the same thing through like past life regressions. There was a lady named Dolores Cannon who was doing past life regressions through hypnosis, where one person had this experience, the next person had this same experience, and their stories were starting to mesh together.
At different
And
time
that was
periods.
different time periods. Yeah. And this was before the internet existed. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So these people had no way to communicate with each other. And she was just finding these stories that all linked together. And I thought that was super interesting. So I went to one of her students and had a past life regression of my own. And through that, I didn't get quite what I was after, but I realized that I could help guide people into hypnosis better than what I was guided into hypnosis through. I saw some flaws in the lady's way of doing it through education and not knowing fully what I was getting into with hypnosis, I guess, being a very newbie at hypnosis. I think education piece is a huge thing because there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about what hypnosis is. And that's kind of what I wanted to break down today with some of those myths.
Well, when I went to your house and visited with you, you have a wall of certificates
Yeah.
from. I mean, you actually did a lot of schooling to research this out and learn. And
Yeah.
how long did you do that? A couple of years?
Yeah. So during COVID around 2020, it wasn't a couple years. I got through it about 6 months at a time. So my first class was from June to December, and I'd used the stimulus package money that we got. And it just happened to be the right amount of money to get in the course, which was divine intervention, if you want to call it that. But something special was there for me for sure. Second class was another 6 months. And that was through the Jacqueline Hypnosis Academy. And they were a company over in Europe that prior to COVID, you had to go in person to go see them. So it was almost a blessing and a curse, obviously, that COVID happened, but it opened up a lot of doors for like online training and schooling that I would have never achieved. So I've gotten this world-class training due to all this stuff opening up, like Zoom and stuff like that.
Okay,
And then after that,
so
it was little intensives here and there.
okay, so
Yeah.
these were online courses for the most part, because you got like 9 or 8 certificates on the wall. I mean, you
Yeah.
really kind of poured yourself into this.
I went
Okay.
heavy on it. Yeah.
So now you've got all these certificates. The job thing kind of goes bye-bye because you said, I'm going to make this a full-time thing.
Yeah, so I gave myself a full year of studying and getting those 2 major education pieces. And then after that, I said, 1 year from this mark, I'm going to make something myself, whether I do or I don't. I need to make the leap into becoming a full-time hypnotist. And that year circled around, and I hadn't got very far into it, but I still pulled the trigger because of the passion that I had, knowing that this is the right path that I'm supposed to be on. And once again, call it divine intervention if you want, but it's floated me perfectly fine for 2 years now on my own. So I left in 2022, and it's 24 now. So I'm about 3 years starting now on my own
Oh,
full time.
so when did you open up your business? What year?
2022.
To 2022. Okay, I missed that. Okay, so your first client walks in. I mean, without going into a whole lot of their personal stuff, tell me, what was it like when you had a client?
Yeah. Obviously a little nerve wracking to do something that you haven't done really a whole lot of, right? There's always those nerves and butterflies. And to be honest with you, I still get a little bit of nerves and butterflies just because that's the natural state of human beings, right? I believe it was Prince that said he would get butterflies before every single performance he did. So knowing that there's that butterflies, but still pushing through it, that's where the courage comes in, I believe. So my first client was a smoker, and working with her was awesome. She's still a non-smoker to this day. She checks in every now and again and lets me know that she's still not smoking. So, and I saw her prior to quitting my job. That was in 2021 that I saw her, I believe.
Okay, so smoking. Okay, there's a lot of different things that people can maybe get hypnotized away from. What else do you do? I mean, what you told me once that a lot of your clientele are smokers, but are there others?
Yes, absolutely. So smoking is my number one niche that I enjoy working with because I believe it changes, home life, family life, work life, all that stuff. But I'm absolutely happy to work with people that have anxieties, phobias, fears, chronic pain. And it's also not just about removing negative habits, but also promoting healthy new ways of thinking, breaking down barriers and blockages that people might have, writer's block, stuff like that.
All right,
Wait,
so and you've been successful now. You've been in practice now for a while. Is there any special licenses that you have to do this?
So it goes state by state, actually. Washington's kind of a mid-range state where you have to get a little bit of, clarity with what you're doing. Probably just want the money for it, but anyone can be a hypnotist in, other
That is what
states.
they want, and that is what they
Yeah,
want. Is your business regulated by the state, or you just paying basically a tax to do it?
right. And I think there's like 6 to 8 states that have regulations on hypnotherapy right now. So by law, I have to give a couple pieces of paperwork at the beginning of my session and make sure that my licensings are all up and current. But yeah, a lot of the states you can just say, hey, here we are, let's go.
Yeah, but then there's really no accountability. So,
No, I think it's a good
so
thing. But I would also say the people that aren't in compliance probably don't even show the paperwork, right? And then you're just in the boat of the other states. If you're doing it unregulated, how do you get caught?
yeah, well, obviously, from just knowing you for as long as I have, you're not one of those people that's doing anything underhanded. I mean, you're a stand-up guy. I really got that when I sat at your dinner table.
Yeah.
Now,
I'll jump through all the hoops and play the games and make sure I'm in accordance with the states because I want to be upfront and doing it the right way.
so who is your? I mean, how do people contact you? Is it word of mouth? I just can't imagine anybody sitting down and going, I need to go find a hypnotist. How does that
You'd
work?
be surprised. A lot of people
I
that
would
I ask
be.
how they found me, a lot of people, they say they find me on Google Maps and they'll search up, hypnotist near me or stop smoking near me. And Google Maps has done me a lot of good. I'd say 50 to 60% of my business probably comes from there. The other part would be through the networking that you mentioned, Ignite You, finding clients there has been really good for me. And beyond that, word of mouth.
So, okay, so I'm trying to kind of meander through a couple of things here and say it the right way. So I got some 20-year-old kid that's sitting across the table from you getting hypnotized. Who would do that at that age?
20 years old?
Yes.
Why would they want to see a hypnotist at 20 years old?
I mean, have you had? Because I'm thinking, I'm from New York, okay? I can hear some dude saying, yeah, let me hypnotize you. Come on over to my place. I'll hook you up. And the next thing you know, she's in trouble. I mean, how is that done? I mean, literally, how is it done?
So I guess I'm getting a little confused on. I thought you were asking why would a 20-year-old see me like for anxiety or something like that. What you're looking for more of. Okay, so yeah, a lot of youth has major anxiety issues these days. I've found 20-year-olds moving towards the workforce and stresses and family life and all that stuff. They might have phobias and fears that they have that they would like to get over, or just getting the right mentality in place, like I said, to break down some of the barriers that need to come out. I've even had some say they want to stop smoking at that age. They said that they're wanting to nip it in the butt early and they're done with it. So they come in and get help that they need.
What about drug addicts?
I work with them. It's a little different. I work closely with doctors and their counselors at that point too, and I want to make sure everything's on the up and up. But yes, I will work with that. I don't guarantee the work, and it's not as high a success as my smoking is. Because my smoking cessation, I do have a 95% success rate, and it is backed by a lifetime guarantee, which means, of course, if my clients decided to start smoking for some reason down the road, they get to come back and they see me for free. Drug addicts, it's a little bit of a different monster. It can be life-threatening as well. So I want to be making sure I'm doing it properly. And
really?
It's very much on them, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get into some of the dispelling some of the myths about this, but you just said something interesting. Drug addicts, it can be a little life-threatening. Well, explain that.
Yeah, so if I was to take away someone's cigarette or I was to take away someone's heroin needle, there's timed things that they're going to go through. With the heroin addict, they're going to start sweating and vomiting, and eventually it does become a life-threatening issue if they don't get their fix. That's why they have to be seen in like methadone clinics and stuff like that too, right? Cigarettes is a little bit safer to remove from someone's life. I can work with marijuana. I can work with cocaine, but some of the heavier drugs, I really need to be working close with doctors because it can be a life-threatening issue. Okay,
so what is the age range, now that we're talking about that, the age range of somebody who would come to see you? I mean, are you seeing, is there, what is the percentage of older versus younger, or,
yeah, it's mostly,
this is all new to me, so give me as much information as you can.
Sure. So for my smokers, I would say it's an age range between 50 and 60, somewhere in there. But I've seen people up to 86 years old, I think was the oldest lady that came in. And I've also worked with teenagers just for anxiety issues. And, they're starting to move into driving maybe, or things like that. School's getting done.
That's kind of weird to me because we built a country because teenagers left home and made a country. I just don't remember anybody in the 50s saying, I think I need to go see a hypnotist so I can get through my driving license. And you're actually dealing with people like that.
I am,
By
yeah.
based on what you
And I
just
think it's a
said.
good thing. It's a different way of thinking, because a lot of it before was, push it down and move beyond it. But now we're not pushing it down. We're releasing it healthy wise so that we're not dealing with repressed emotions and stuff later on in our lives. Just
Well,
a
I mean,
different way.
everybody's got it. Everybody's got a little trauma.
Sure.
A little trauma in their lives. But because of what you decided to do, and because of what the successes you have, folks, I've been in his house. He's got a glass cage with all of the empty packs of cigarettes that people have put in that I guess it's like an aquarium or something.
It's a fish tank, yeah.
It's a fish tank. So whenever he takes their cigarettes away from me, he puts them in there, and I thought the thing was overflowing. In fact, there's 2 little containers there, but it's not small. I thought, wow, that's a great way to display your successes. Now, any bad situations ever happen? I mean, anything?
Bad situations, I would say no. Some people have realized that they weren't ready to quit yet after they've done the session. Luckily, I've got that lifetime guarantee in place, and I've had them call me up, a couple months later and say, okay, now I'm ready to actually be in the spot to quit. I was not ready yet. And usually if they do fail, it's, I'm sorry, I messed up. I had a bad thing come up in my life, but it's never based off the hypnosis and them feeling like it didn't work. It's usually, something traumatic happened in their life and they had a hurdle and they're ready to a month, 3 months down the road, call me up and say, okay, let's get this solved once and for all, kind of a thing.
Okay. So I really don't want to, I don't want to put you on the spot and say, okay, I'm sitting in front of you, hypnotize me. But how would a session actually happen?
For a smoking session, let's go ahead and talk about that since that's my main thing. I'd bring the client in and I'm going to show them a 45-minute video that's going to educate them on how to accept a hypnosis suggestion to start with. And it's also going to explain what the nicotine's been doing to the body, all that kind of stuff. After that, I've got a process where I work with their neurological system. It's activating their left and their right mind, and it collapses the craving in on itself at that point. It takes about 15 minutes to do. At that point, they are non-smokers before I've even done hypnosis. So my hypnosis, when I do it, it's just about getting the conscious mind and the unconscious mind in agreement with each other and making sure everything is nice and smooth, kind of like putting on icing on a cake with that. So after 15 minutes of working with their neurological system, I test everything out. I've got ways of testing things where their body will let me know whether they're still wanting a cigarette and the cravings are still there. We don't move on until that's completely squashed. Afterwards, I sit them in my hypnosis chair, and you see more of what's shown on TV shows, or whether I'm sitting down next to them, their eyes are closed, and I'm just kind of telling them a little story. At no point do they not hear my voice. You're always consciously, or at least unconsciously, aware of my voice. And it's about relaxing down and cheering the suggestions on. To your point, if they were to say, okay, here I am, try and hypnotize me, I'm not going to get good results from that because it's a challenge and they're not wanting to really see it. If you wanted to fight hypnosis off, you easily could. You're going to win every single time you say no to hypnosis. You cannot have your mind taken control of.
So but go ahead and finish your statement because I got a question to follow up.
Yeah. After that 40-some minutes of doing the hypnosis, I stand people up, 0 cravings, 0 withdrawals, and I send them on their way to live their life happy.
When the very first time that happened and you had that success, what was that like for you? I actually could do this.
For one, confidence goes through the roof, right? Saying, okay, this is actually a thing to help people and an amazing thing. So yeah, a big confidence hit because you never quite know what you're getting into until you get into it and see the results. But after that confidence hit and seeing the change in someone's life, you want more. You just want to keep helping as much as you can, almost to a point where it can become toxic if you're not careful, because So you see someone online, hey, life sucks, yada, yada, yada. And you're like, oh, I could help you if you want. And you try and weep on them in the beginning. And that was something I had to learn to dial back. And you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, I had a friend say to me a long time ago. He said, Jeff, when you're sitting in front of people, the very first thing you do is throw a bomb into the audience, and you blow them up. And he said, nobody's going to respond to that in a positive way. He said, you can lead a horse to the water, but you're out there dragging that horse to the water. It's not going to work. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had to pull back and realize people are people. And he actually said something. He says, you can't force a person to do anything, but you can park an alternative up next to what they're thinking. Give them choices. Sure. And that's kind of what you do. Now, let's talk a little bit about myths. So there's a girl. She's sitting in front of you. You are dying to have sex with her. So you hypnotize her to have sex.
Yeah. Now, obviously, if it's not happening, especially if she did not want to have sex, she would open her eyes and stand up and leave. Yeah. Instantly hearing that suggestion would send shock through her.
Okay, so what are some of the myths that you can dispel? And the reason why, there was a time in my life when I was uber Christian, I wouldn't even entertain this conversation because this was from the devil. I'm not in that lane anymore because I realize there's so many modalities out here that are useful to help people. And so I'm not in that lane at all anymore, okay? And as I did some cursory just research on hypnotism before you came on over the last week and a half, I suppose, I realized that this actually can be used to help people, period. And you've mentioned several times during our conversation, I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people. What are some of the other myths that you can kind of, now that you're, fluid with all of this and you're practicing it, what are some of the myths that my audience needs to hear can be easily dispelled during this broadcast?
Yeah, so you brought up a great one to talk about right away, and it's that this is not of the devil or anything voodoo or evil. This is something that's taught in college nowadays. It's a natural state of mind. To achieve hypnosis, you only need 3 things, and that's focus, intention, and imagination. So as long as those 3 things are in place, hypnosis happens. We're going in and out of hypnosis multiple times per day, just on a natural occurring occasions. For example, when we fall asleep in the morning and when we wake up, or when we're falling asleep at night and when we wake up in the morning, those are forms of hypnosis, that in-between state. You might notice that you're going in and out of hypnosis while you're driving a car. Road hypnosis is a serious thing. So you go through a stop sign and you go, man, and you look back and go, I hope I didn't, blow through that stop sign. It's because your unconscious mind.
That actually happened to me.
Yeah.
I had a car accident, and I had just left a very difficult situation, and I was so mad. This is a true story. You just triggered something in my memory. This is a true story. I was so angry. I got in my car and I was heading to a meeting, and I drove a whole block, maybe 2 blocks, without realizing that I was driving the car. My mind went somewhere else because I kind of, when everything came back into focus, all I saw was a red light that I was just now going under, and I heard something and I turned my head this way, and literally there was a headlight. I was looking at a headlight right there. So I drove that car 2 blocks down the road, not consciously aware that I was driving the car. I had a church van, believe it or not, broadside me. I could have died that day. I woke up in an ambulance on the way to the trauma center, and I kept thinking to myself, how did I get home to be having this dream? Because nothing was real. until that paramedic stuck me with that needle. But I was completely oblivious to the fact that I was driving the car. This is kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Road hypnosis, where you're so focused on something else that your unconscious mind goes into that overdrive of just doing what it knows how to do and gets you home, hopefully safe. Unfortunately, in your occurrence there, not so safe.
I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. They were talking about pouring ice all over my chest. It's pretty bad. I'm fortunate to survived it, but I remember blacking out. I literally blacked out while driving a car because I was so mad. I was probably the maddest I've ever been emotionally, that my mind just tuned me out. And that accident happened.
Emotion is a funny thing, and it always overtakes our logical minds whenever it happens, right? Anytime there's a conflict. So we've got a left logical mind. I'll give you a little diagram here. We've got a left logical mind and a right emotional mind. And in between that sits our amygdala. And that flashes for that fight, flight, and freeze response, right? And anytime there's an issue between your left logical and your right emotional is always going to win and overtake you every single time. That's why when we get into verbal arguments with people or whatever was bothering you in that car, afterwards we can look back and go, man, why was I even doing that? I didn't mean to do that. I didn't want to get that upset. Why did I say those things? Whatever it is. But the idea behind that is the amygdala, it pops open and it should be scanning that environment for the fight, flight, freeze response. And as it hits, ideally it would shrink back down and start scanning the environment again. But when these emotional hits happen, it pops open and now you've got whatever frustrated you there and whatever frustrated you before, and it's not closing down the way it should be. And it just gets all garbled up. So the idea behind hypnosis is to start backing out some of these pressure points so people are more in their logical state and less in the emotional states of life as well.
Well, then I think you could make $1 billion if you would, every person on the west side of the mountains in Washington State, could you maybe get them all back into their logical mind?
Let's do a mass hypnosis event and get everyone steady and ready. I like that idea. But of course, they would need to want it, right?
Yeah. Okay, so now your mom and your dad, let's talk about that for a minute. Because based on what you said about homeschooling whatnot, you were raised in a Christian home. Okay. Now your mom and your dad say, okay, you're going to be a hypnotist. How did that play out in your family life?
They were very supportive when I said I was going to become a hypnotist. It would never been anything that I'd ever talked about growing up or anything like that. It was very spur of the moment. But yeah, full support. They love that I'm doing what I'm doing and helping people. And probably my dad was a little curious more than my mom of whether I was making right choices or not, but also very supportive in my choices.
That's really cool. I remember you telling me that. I wanted the audience to hear that. Now, some other myths about hypnosis. What else can you share about, all the crazy stuff that's out there? And the reason I'm into frequency testing, and I tested you, and I don't know, how did you feel about that after I left? We haven't really talked about it. What
it was
did you
interesting
see when I did that? Yeah.
It was very interesting. I would like to do a little more research on it because it hit on a lot of things that, I was experiencing and feeling, and I want to know how it found that, right?
Did that. That's why I do the emotional scan. Because like you just said, the emotions always win. So the thing that I'm doing to get people to see this, I just did someone else, and I want to tell you this. I just did somebody else at Ignite You, and we went off into a little room this week. And I performed the frequency scan on him. And I tell you, man, sitting there watching him read what it was picking up about him, his tears forming in his eyes. It was so spot on. And then there was one point when something about his ears, he goes, how did this know about my ears? And I went, well, you're an energy being. It's looking at your energy. It's like looking at your frequencies through a microscope from the time you were born until this very moment. And everything that's recorded in you is picking up. And when it read something, and I won't get into too much about his personal life, but it read something very specific about a trauma that he was dealing with from his childhood, and it literally verbatim in verbiage listed the very thing that he had shared with me prior to doing this, and
That's awesome.
he was stunned. But again, between the patches, the frequency testing, hypnosis, there's so many things that the pharmaceutical and medical industry have crushed in order that we not be able to tap into some of these other modalities and things that bring healing, or at least bring up from the subconscious to the conscious, bring it up. And we're told to take a pill to manage the problem, okay? Which I'm up to here with that, okay? I'm up to here. And then you have the side effects, so we're told to take another pill. And I'm like, this is crazy. And yet we can do hypnotism to take the urge to smoke away from a person, help them get their lungs and life squared up. All these different things in the United States of America, it's managed care, go see the doctor, take a pill.
Yep.
And to me, I'm reading a book where the hospital basically killed the patient. And there was the family was powerless to stop it, but they were watching it happen very hard. It has to do with the COVID things that were going on. But anyway, some other myths that you can dispel about hypnosis.
Yeah. Before we go into it, I want to hit on something you just said there. It's kind of a anecdotal thing they say, do you know who the two most powerful hypnotists in the world are, Jeff?
No.
You had to take a guess. It's your mother. Oh, you're right. Your mother and your doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So listen, I want to say something about this since you mentioned that. Now, when I go to see my primary and I go to the VA doctor, I ask questions now. You know, when they say he's going to give me this pill, I'll go, okay, why? Then I always ask this question. What are the side effects? And how many side effects is my body going to be diverted from? My immune system is now being diverted from to tackle these side effects. And if you give me another pill to tackle the side effects, how much more is my immune system going to be compromised as it tackles the side effects? And by the way, the pill you're giving me is managing the problem. It's not getting rid of the problem, but I'm creating all these other things that now my body has to fight. And I question them now, whereas before I didn't know that I needed to do that. I just, okay, give me the prescription. Then I found out that a lot of doctors make their money, the bulk of their income, from writing prescriptions. Now, that's not to say all doctors, but that's the industry.
Sure.
You know, the pharmaceutical industry, they want to pump their products.
Yep.
Go ahead.
They did a test where they were putting lab coats on people and, have real doctors. And I think they did lab coats or something along those lines. And they found out that people were believing lab coat people more than, it was the white coat was making people believe things more than what they should, is what the test ended up finding out. I forget how it all plays out, but super interesting. Just putting a white coat on instantly brings up your trust worth. And I've seen some hypnotists even put white coats on. I don't believe in doing that, but just to get some buy-in.
Well, I think too, I know it's a fact. We are medically trained to go to the doctor and have the doctor tell us what's wrong and give us a prescription. But we're never trained to go look at alternative medicines or alternative modalities. But you say you got people coming to you because they're not going to go to the doctor and put a patch on their arm and absorb all these chemicals. They're going to come to you and have their mind, literally their subconscious mind, brought to the surface. It's so much. I've learned so much about all of this, but people come to you for hypnosis. Go ahead.
Sorry. They even saying now that 90% of tumors in your body are all created up here. It's just the vibration of it and the dis-ease, right?
When I'm talking to people about the frequency scanning, the one thing that the company that I signed on to use their equipment, they say 90% of what's going on in your body starts up here,
Yes.
in your head, because everything, really, your emotional makeup drives the decisions we make.
Yep.
But it also produces side effects in your body because everything's out of harmony. What you do is try to bring people back into balance so that they can beat something, a nasty habit that they acquired. It's not part of who they were, not part of how they were born or how they were designed. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely. Yep. 100%.
Good.
Bringing the body back into balance.
And that's exactly what the frequency stuff is doing as well. So there's alternative stuff out there, but we're trained. We are trained to run to the doctors, get a pill, get ourselves cut open, and do whatever they got to do. Now, in my case, I had cancer, and so they cut up, took the tumor out, they saved my life. So I can't throw all of it under the bus. Yeah. I just know that corruption is corruption in just about every area of human life right now. And we have to recognize that some of the stuff we're dealing with has been corrupted.
100%. I was just reading a story before I came on here about a guy going to a dentist, and they said he had 6 cavities. And then he went and got a second opinion through another dentist, and the guy said he had 0 cavities. So corruption is rampant right now, and unfortunate.
So getting back to what you do. Now, you're making a living. Obviously, I'm hoping that this podcast will give you some more exposure, because I know one thing about you, Levi. You're an honorable person. That just beams out of you. And so I just would encourage people to check it out. Don't be afraid to go to your website. We're going to put the website across the screen. Don't be afraid to contact Levi and see what he has to offer, because he's not there to hurt you. That much about you just beams out of you. And I've appreciated knowing you. Now, we got about 15 minutes left in the program. What do you want to say to the people that are going to watch this?
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and squash one more major myth, and that's the stage hypnosis shows, and that I'm going to come in and make you cluck like a chicken, because that's what I hear a lot is, well, you're going to make me cluck like a chicken. And the difference between the stage show and a clinical setting is, one, you're going on to a stage, and by that, you're unconsciously agreeing to put on a show for someone. Where my clinical shows, my clinical sessions are not about, arm levitation and making you cluck like a chicken or anything like that. It's about relaxing down into a natural state of focus, just where you can get the change that you desire. We're going to have a conversation ahead of time about what you're after and what you're there for. And then the idea is to, cheer the suggestions on as I'm giving them. And if anything was not what was in alignment with you, you would instantly just open your eyes and realize, that's not what you were there for. And we would get back on track, hopefully. But yeah, coming up, learning hypnosis, a lot of the younger hypnotists, I remember I would practice with them and we'd have each other close our eyes, and their wording wasn't always quite right because they were newer. So anytime I heard something that was funny, I would, open my eyes and say, I get what you're trying to do, but that wasn't quite the way to phrase it, because it's uneasy for people. So you definitely hear what's going on the whole time and you can communicate. I think that's a good word to get out.
So the thing with the stage shows, I mean, the people are liquored up. They're in an environment. They're already psychosomatically psyched out about this. Because I went to one of those shows and I did watch people cluck like a chicken. And I was sitting there, this is fake. This is fake. I just was like, then my wife went up there and I know her, and what they had her doing, that's not her. So I knew that there was something to it. Anyway, is there any other myth that you want to dispel? Because I want to get into the bold here in a minute.
Yeah, no, I think that's a major thing is, it's not evil. It's not mind control. I can't make you do anything that you were uncomfortable with. It's just that natural state of mind that we're all popping in and out of. Some people even say it's not my job to hypnotize. It's my job to dehypnotize people from their already hypnotized life of hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth, right? Hey, it's breakfast time, time for a cigarette. Hey, a coffee, time for a cigarette. My job is to break those habits up.
Very good. Now I'm going to play a little video. We're going to completely switch gears because I'm all into frequency. I'm all into solfeggio tones. I'm into it. So I'm going to play this video real quick. Carol's going to put it up on the screen. And then when it's done playing, explain it.
Okay. I was just going to say, I'd love to have the audience close their eyes and maybe do some deep breaths while this plays and see how they feel in their body.
Okay, very good. Well, I did close my eyes, and because I'm familiar with what this is all about, I just, you know what, I feel peaceful. It's like a peaceful thing. Now, to explain to the audience what the bowls are, and by the way, I have a friend, or had a friend, who was really into this. She got very involved in it, had all these bowls all over her house, and she sat down and was doing all this. She actually was the person who I really looked up to because she knew so much about so many things. But at some point, I felt like I needed to disconnect from where she was, and she's much older than me. Good lady. We just got into different lanes. But anyway, what happened? What did we just listen to?
All right, so that's called a sound bath session. That's something that I've been offering to clients to further my healing process. What it is there's 7 crystal bowls there. The idea behind it is each bowl is attached to a different energy center frequency in your body. Because as we go through life, our energy levels get so out of whack from stress and anxiety and living. Playing these certain tones are supposed to help calm and bring those balances back into the checks and balances the body should have, bringing that natural balance back into place. People say that the anxiety goes away listening to these tones. They're sleeping better at night because of these tones. They're relaxed. They're calm. Just over those few seconds there, I mean, you should have felt a flush if you relaxed well enough with that.
Actually did.
But yeah,
I did.
There's a couple different types of bowls. There's crystal and there's brass.
Yeah, now you got the crystal ones.
I got them both now.
So did my. Oh, you do?
Yeah. So here's one of the brass bowls, and they're. I don't know if this will play out well, but we'll do a tone here too. See how it sounds. A little bit of a different sound to it compared to the crystal ones.
I could barely hear anything, to be honest.
Barely hear. Okay. But yeah, it's got a different sound.
Do you have the bowl? Do you have the crystal one handy?
I don't have a crystal near me now.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Now, we've got 10 minutes in the program. How do people contact you? I mean, obviously, they can contact you on your website. I don't know if you want people calling you, but if you do, you can give your phone number out. And, you got the last 10 minutes. Tell my audience what you want them to know.
Perfect. Yeah. So if they wanted to shoot me a text, 253-881-8989. And then I would set up a time for us to have a conversation at that point. I say shoot me a text because I don't answer numbers I don't know too often. So that's the easiest way. You could also email me, swifthypnosis@gmail.com, or my website, swifthypnosis.net. Facebook's a great way to reach out to me. Google Maps, all those, plenty of ways to reach out to me. So
when you say Google Maps, I mean, that's the maps. What do you mean by Google Maps?
You could just Google Swift Hypnosis and.
Oh, you mean just Google you?
Yeah, Google me. Yeah, that works. Yeah. But a lot of times that'll bring up my. Specifically Maps, because there's the website that the Google will take you to as well. But
Oh,
Maps is where
okay.
you do like the reviews for me for Google and stuff like that, and how you get to my house, the map pack. Yeah.
Okay.
Either way works. Yeah. Plenty of ways to reach me. I'm all out there.
Now, share some of your success stories. Give me about 4 or 5 stories that you can tell in the time we have left.
Okay. So I have a guy contact me every Christmas who thanks me for helping him to quit smoking. He says it saved his family. His wife was, about up to here with it, and he was ready to be done with it too. And we had the session. Everything went good, and it's amazing to hear his story every year and his successes through Christmas. So that was an awesome one, helping him out. Another one was a lady was a little nervous to drive on the freeway. She had some anxiety over it, and we had one session. And after that session was done, she said she got home that day and didn't even realize that she had hopped on the freeway because it wasn't even a thing. She just drove home and it was just like it was normal. She said she had also noticed that in her pictures, her smile had changed for the better. So she found, more confidence in herself and stuff like that too. So that's a heartwarming one for me as well. Yeah, I mean, smokers, it's always awesome seeing a smoker come in and they're broken and not sure that they can do this and how they're going to do it, but they want to. And then within 15 minutes of working with them, they're already in that different state of mind where they know this is happening. I've tested it out of their body using muscle testing, and I've shown them that this is possible to do.
You do muscle testing too?
I do a little bit of muscle testing in my smoking cessation stuff. Yeah.
Okay. What about people who have had real traumatic experiences?
So I haven't had anyone with like crazy traumatic experiences yet, but I'm trained for it. Absolutely. PTSD. My instructor was a major person for PTSD awareness, and he had wrote a few books on it. His name is Carl Smith over in the UK. And but no, that isn't usually what I get pulled into me. I'm more than happy to work with it. I would love to work with it and help people, discover a solution to it. But for
What
like
was the
the
most
major,
difficult? What would you say has been the most difficult thing?
probably just educating people in the fact that hypnosis is okay has been my most difficult thing. Once I get people in, everyone seems pretty happy and successful with it. Uh, but yeah, just sending the education out that, like I said, this is a natural state of mind that anyone can achieve. And people want to be set in those old ways of, I had a guy call me. I'll tell you a little anecdotal story of an unfortunate situation. So this guy calls me and he wants to quit smoking. And he says, he's all for it. And we go over the pricing and stuff. And he says, well, I need to talk to my wife, make sure it's a financial decision that we want to go through. And I said, that's cool. Give me a call back and let me know what she says. And he calls back and he says, you know what? We can't go through with the session. I really want to quit smoking, but my wife says you're going to open demon portals up into my head. And I said, well, that's not how hypnosis works. I'd love to have a conversation with her. And he said, nope, she's completely shut down. She won't even let me go through with this, and she does not want to talk to you. I said, well, it's unfortunate, but I understand. Have a good day, kind of a thing. And it's just those hiccups and hangups that really crush me because I could have helped that guy and, changed his life by not having him smoke anymore. Unfortunate. So yeah, that would be my biggest hang up.
I had a person, I was going to do a frequency scan, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it got back to me that she it was just the reverse. The husband said that's witchcraft and I don't want you to have anything to do with it. And that was it. That was the end of that whole conversation.
Yeah.
So, but the person said it was from Satan, it was witchcraft, and I'm not in that religious framework anymore. I'm not bound by religion. I'm actually free of the religious world. Um, wow, we got the word support wrong. But by the way, folks, if you want to help me do the show, you can help me pay for some of the stuff that I have to pay for. There it is. Just Zelle or Venmo or give me a call. It always does help. I am actually doing some things I'm taking a course on how to better finance my world. But anyway, I've experienced that. I've experienced people that are do 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 do. Satan's gonna. I remember this one person. She said, I was watching her on Facebook or something, and Satan took her Snickers bar.
Okay.
She was like yelling out, "Satan, give me back my Snickers!" It gets kind of crazy, but she was making humor out of how we think.
Sure.
You know, Satan took my Snicker bar. Give me back my Snicker bar. I'm so not there anymore. Levi, I really appreciate you coming on the broadcast. And this is really fun. You've given a lot of good information. What do you hope to be doing here? I mean, where are you going with all this for the next, say, 5 years of your life?
Yeah, just keep growing my business. I want to be fully functional, being nice and booked out and earning the money to keep producing what I'm doing so I can keep helping people, right? That's the goal, is to help as many people as I can. I've got a passion to help 10,000 smokers by the time I'm done with this. That's my goal I've set for myself. It's a long haul away from where I'm at, and I'm ready for it, and just keep hammering away.
You've been at this now for just about three and a half years, correct?
Well, yeah, technically it's 2020 is when I started training it. 22 is when I went on my own, but I was kind of doing some stuff in between there. So lines are a little blurred, but around there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I wish you the best. I'm sorry, go ahead. I cut you off. What did you say?
I've helped a few hundred people already stop smoking, which is great. So it's building. Yeah.
I saw the case with all the empty bags. Yep. Good for you. Good for you. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this. Obviously, I want to encourage people to contact you and to, if they have an issue, to contact you. I know you personally. You're safe. There's no devil under your bed. But there's a lot of education in your head about why this can help people. And when I saw all of the certificates that you have, I knew that you were serious about helping people. And that was, I mean, you've mentioned that several times during the broadcast. The whole reason you wanted to do this was to help people get out of the warehouse job and maybe make a little bit of money in the process. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just really, really happy that you came onto the broadcast. You got 2 minutes. You got the last word.
Yeah, I'd say, if anyone has any questions about this, reach out, send me a text. Let's have a conversation. I'm more than happy to talk and figure things out and see what's best for you to get over whatever you're going through, whether it's smoking, marijuana use, chewing tobacco, anxiety, PTSD, chronic pain, weight loss, all that stuff. Any questions, let's have a conversation.
What is your phone number again? Say it a couple of times slowly.
Yeah. 253-881-8989. It's 253-881-8989. Yeah.
There you go, folks. You got his website, Swift. What is it?
SwiftHypnosis.net.
SwiftHypnosis.net. You got his phone number. The show's going to be posted on my YouTube page, on my Rumble page, and also on Facebook. I encourage you, if you're having any issues with the things that we're talking about here, smoking, weight loss, chewing tobacco. People who chew tobacco blows my mind, because I've known people who've had most of their jawline removed because of tobacco, chewing tobacco. It's just, if you want to hurt yourself like that, just jump out in front of a train. But anyway, I don't understand smoking. I used to smoke many, many years ago. This is my podcast. Let's talk about it. You're welcome to be on my show. Next week, we're going to have Dr. Dina Dion. We're going to talk about the movie Bonhoeffer. Mr. Levi, I really appreciate you coming on. Love to have you back, okay? You're welcome anytime.
Thanks for having me. Awesome.
All right. That's it, folks. We're out. Have a good weekend.